Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's targeted math mini lesson. Our I can statement for today is, I can make equivalent fractions to decimals. This anchor chart will be useful for you to take a screenshot of to reference later. This is a fraction strip chart where it shows our fractions, our percentages, and decimals and how they are related and equivalent to each other. Okay, so let's do this one together. So we are going to look at this model and we are first going to decide what the fraction will be. So in this model, we have a grid divided up into 10 sections and 2 of the sections are shaded. So our fraction would be 2 over 10. We would also say this as 2/10. 2/10. Now, when we write this as a decimal, we're going to fill in this little decimal chart that we have to help us out. Okay, so in this model, we have 0 ones. We don't have any holes. So if this entire grid was filled in, then we would have one entire hole, but we don't have anything. Okay, we only have a part of a hole. So we have 0 ones, then we have our decimal, and then we had how many tenths? We had 2/10. So we're going to go ahead and write a 2 in the tenths place. All right, so 2/10, the fraction right here, is equivalent to the decimal of 0.2 or 0 and 2/10. All right, let's do another one. So in this one, it looks like we have 100 squares. So this whole square is divided into 100 little parts. So that is going to be our denominator in our fraction. That's the total number of parts. So I know I have 100 parts total. And let's look at how many parts are shaded. Okay, well, we have, this is a group of 10, so 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65, 66, 67, 68. So there are 68 out of 100 squares shaded. Okay, so that's our fraction. Now let's create our decimal. So we have 0 whole numbers, then we have our decimal, and then we have 68 hundredths, okay, because it's divided into 100 pieces. So whenever we say the decimal, we say the last place value at the end. So in this one, I have 0 and 68 hundredths, okay? So the fraction 68 over 100 is equivalent or equal to 0.68 or 0 and 68 hundredths. All right, now let's look at this number line, okay? So this dot, it's asking us what fraction and decimal are shown by the point. So this dot right here, okay? Now, if we look at this fraction number line, we can see we have 0/10 over here and 5/10 over here. Well, let's count how many spaces are in between these two numbers. Well, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 spaces. So that means each little line is worth 1/10, okay? So now we should be able to figure out what this dot on the graph is. So let's go ahead and count our spaces. So this is 0/10, so this would be 1/10, 2/10, 3/10. Okay, so this point is at the fraction of 3/10. Okay, now we need to write an equivalent decimal. Okay, well, this is only a fraction, so we have 0 wholes and we have 3/10. So our decimal, 3/10, is equal to 0.3, or we would say 0 and 3/10. Okay, last one for this one. So this is a word problem. So it says the distance from Tim's school is 10 and 600 miles. What is this distance written as a decimal? I don't know what this is right here. Just ignore that, you guys. Okay, so we have 10 and 600ths, and we need to write this as a decimal. So I'm going to give you just a moment to think about it. All right, so let's write the number. So in this one, we have 10 wholes. Okay, so that's going to be our first number. And then we have our decimal. And then we have 600ths. Well, remember, the first number after a decimal is the tenths place. And we actually don't have any tenths. So we need to make sure we put a 0 as the placeholder. And then we can write our 600ths. Okay, now this is a good example of what you would see on a STAR test. Sometimes you will have to type in the number using this little number box, okay? So if you were doing this on a STAR test, you would push the numbers 1, 0, then the decimal, then 0 again, and then the 6. Okay, so we would write our final answer here, 10 and 600ths. We're going to do one other mini lesson. So this I can statement is, I can represent data on a stem and leaf plot. We had talked about dot plots previously. Now we're going to look at something called a stem and a leaf. So stem and leaf plots are when they separate out a number into place value. So in this stem and leaf plot, they've got over here are the stems, and these are representing the tens place. And then we've got the leaves that represent the ones place of the number, okay? So if you look right here, all of these are different numbers. So the first number is 21 right here. The second number would be 22 right here. Then we have another number, another 22. Okay, so here's the other 22, and so on. So all of these are representing numbers with the tens placed in the stem column and the ones placed in the leaves column. Okay, so let's try this question together. So this question says, the stem and leaf plot shows the number of push-ups completed by a group of military recruits in 1 minute. So they're doing a bunch of push-ups. Try to answer each question using the plot and then check your answer. Okay, so first thing it's asking us is how many recruits are in the group? Well, what you're going to do is you're going to count how many numbers they have in the stem and leaf chart. So let's go ahead and write the numbers that we have. So in this first section, we have the number 17. So one recruit did 17 push-ups. Now in the next row, we have the numbers 23, 24. Okay, here's your stem and your leaf. Okay, so 24. Then we have 25, another 25, and 26. Okay. All right, let's look at the third row. So the third row, we have the numbers 30, 32, and 33. The fourth row, we have the number 49, And in the fifth row, we have 51, 54, and 58. Okay, so if we want to know how many recruits there are, we need to count how many numbers we have. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So there are 13 recruits in the group. Okay, so now let me clear off this so we have a cleaner space to look at for our next question. Okay, so for number 2, it's asking us how many recruits completed fewer than 25 push-ups. So basically we need to know how we're looking for the numbers that are less than 25. So if they're fewer than 25, we do not include the number 25. Okay, well, let's see how many numbers we have less than 25. We have 1, 2, 3. Okay, or you could also look at just the chart right here, and you know you have 24, 23, and 17. So we have 3 recruits that completed less than 25 push-ups. Okay, and now our last question. 2 recruits completed the same number of push-ups. How many push-ups did they each complete? So I'm looking for the number that I have a double of. Well, the only number that I had double of was 25. So 2 recruits completed 25 push-ups. All right, here are your exit tickets for today. Make sure you pause the video and complete your exit tickets. The first one is, which equation shows a decimal and a fraction that are equivalent? And the next one, the data shown below represents the number of painted rocks students in Mrs. Valencia's art class made for a kindness project. Mrs. Valencia decided to display the data representing how many rocks each class painted. What stems will she put in the stem and leaf plot? So what numbers would go on the left side? Because here are your stems. All right, hope everyone has a great day.